episode of Diaspora Connect on AAU TV. AAU TV is the voice of higher education in Africa. Today I am at Strathmore University in Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm going to talk about the extent to which Africans in the diaspora has helped Strathmore University to integrate ICT in their operations. My name is Ransford Bequin. I am the host of the program. You can follow this discussion on all our social media handles and on our dedicated website. Before I talk to the guests of today's show, let's go for a short break. Welcome back from the break to Diaspora Connect on AAU TV. AAU TV is the voice of higher education in Africa. Before the break, I had introduced a topic which is harnessing ICT for access and quality. And this falls under Strategic Objective 3 of the African Union's Continental Education Strategy for Africa. And I'm privileged to be talking to the director of the ICT Center or the Faculty of Information and Technology at Strathmore University here in Nairobi, Kenya, in the name of Dr. Joseph Orero. Welcome to AAU TV.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about the university and its ICT policy. You know, universities are run on strategic plans. Is there a policy on ICT that the university is following?
Yes. Now, for Strathmore, we run. I'm not specifically directly related because we have also another office called the ICT Services Office that deals more or less with the implementation. But I am among the members of the steering basically the executive committee that deals with ICT in terms of the implementation. We make the policy level and so on. So we have already an ICT policy that we work as a template to be able to roll out. So, like, for example, 2 years ago, I think we involved some other stakeholders who came and looked at our rollout programs, how are we doing and so on, so that then they advised us on what to basically do differently, because normally sometimes it's very difficult for you to see your own
to assess
weakness.
Yourself. Yeah.
So in this committee we normally make all those strategic decisions that the university needs to make in terms of moving to the next word. So we are highly digitized, as you can be able to maybe get from our website and so on. Yeah.
So in terms of these external stakeholders that are helping to develop these policies or who have helped to develop these policies, do you have any African in the diaspora who ever came?
The diaspora, mainly we involved them in exchanges. Like every year we have at least 3 visiting faculty. So like this year we were supposed to have someone from Canada coming, so a Kenyan who lives in Canada. Last year we held as we had an opportunity to have, I think, 3 or so visiting professors. They were coming basically because we hosted the Pan-African conference on IEEE Pan-African conference. Okay. So during that particular period, we took that chance to be able to have these guests to be able to impact knowledge basically and then tell us and so on. But other than that, then we also involved the external kind of people in terms of like, before we launch anything, we send it to the people to be able to validate, what we call the external reviewers kind of.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's look at ICT within the university. Let's first look at the administration. How effective has ICT penetrated the overall operations of this university?
Yeah, as I said, for Strathmore is highly digitized. Basically, virtually everything we do is online. So right from we have an academic management system, which is, I think, one of the best we can say in terms of, so it helps us to track, like for instance, for all the students' issues, from the time they register, the fees and so on, the exams, everything is basically recorded online. And therefore students don't have to wait for results. Like for instance, we don't give hard copies and so on. So that helps us. So in fees, when you pay the fees, it's reflected there and so on. So records are up to dates in terms of within a click. So that's one area that basically we have penetrated quite. And then we use a lot the e-learning, our platform, which basically then helps us in 2 ways. One is to disseminate the information, so the teaching is not classical one, the traditional chalk. So we help, like you can upload the stuff, the students can submit their assignments, and it's normally very interesting because you put the deadlines. It helps us to basically meet the students to be able to adhere to the deadlines, because when you put, like, they need to submit before midnight and therefore you're not there after midnight, the link goes out and so on. But also one of the other things that has made us, the ICT has helped us, especially in the e-learning side, is basically to as the students are submitting their work, normally it checks automatically the originality of the data. So that helps us not for students to aim high, so that then there's no plagiarism of work and so on. Yeah.
Okay, you were talking about teachers using ICT to send assignments. Is it something that virtually every lecturer is now ICT savvy?
Yes, for Strathmore it is, because the basic idea, even from the recruitment, because I chair the recruitment committee for the faculty. Okay. So even from the recruitment, the way you are going to present yourself, you have to be IT savvy. Okay. Otherwise we will not employ you, because we ask you to do like a mock kind of class, and then what kind of assignments are you going to send. So everything here has to be digital. So, and then the way the students do their coursework, basically if you are not IT savvy, then you might not survive in Strathmore, because the students expect that, and therefore if you give something else, like what we call normally the born before computers, yes. So the BBC, BBC, then you will not be able to survive in Strathmore. So that's the kind of level that we are in terms of.
ICT entails using different applications. How often do you train the faculty?
Now, in terms of, I don't know whether you are asking, so there are 2 ways of looking at it. So there is the faculty of IT. Okay. So the staff, yeah, of course, are highly trained in terms of computing aspects, because then they must have had the undergraduate in IT related. Therefore, they are really, and then we have really a very aggressive kind of recruitment strategy where we pick the best from all the universities. So like every year we have this graduate assistant position, which is our entry level and so on. But other than that, the training is, in Strathmore we have a policy where you have to do continuous training.
Right.
So one of the things that you have to keep at breast is basically the changing technology. And now for the staff that work in the faculty of IT, then they have to really be at the cutting edge in terms of what the technology is. So they have to do the formal research where they have to do things of their interest. Normally it's IT related for the staff here. And then then you have to do masters, PhD, and then you have to publish in the top ranking journals and so on. But other than the faculty of IT, the rest also do the same. Basically, we have a staff affairs department which deals basically with the evolving kind of needs that the lecturers need and the staff need in the university. And IT is one of those that is given there.
Okay. Now let me focus on researchers. How is ICT helping the researchers of this university to improve upon their work?
ICT, as I said, is one of the things that it helps, of course, that aspect of ensuring that you, because all the submission protocol submission, like for instance for research, are all automated here. So we don't do the manual of you submit your document and so on. So the entire process of research, basically giving the output of the research is basically automated.
Okay.
So if it is like an ethical review of your proposal, then you will submit it online. Then someone will look at it online, like I will be allocated someone to look at that online to review, and then the response you will also get online. If it's a conference, when we run our normal ICT conference, everything is automated. Maths conference has just ended a few days ago. Okay. The entire thing is also automated. The output is purely automated. Now we are using a very a system where also we gauge, like you can't publish any other place.
Okay.
Like we have put a level which you have to publish. So if you publish in a journal that is lower than that which we want, then we will not recognize that. And actually we try to prevent that. But how are we able to do that? It's because of IT. So with IT we are able to track and know where you are published, whether you appear in those databases and so on. So we have all this, our research office connecting all this so that then we get basically the data that is relevant for us to be able to move on.
Yeah, but one challenge that many academics face is the challenge of publishing in peer-reviewed journals.
Yes.
You know, of late there are so many predator journals, and they are bombarding, the academics.
Yes.
Do you have a center, a clearinghouse where all researchers need to channel their research, and then these research outputs are published?
Now, we work differently. Like for instance, for you to be able to, that for you to move from one level to the next, you need publication. So for someone to graduate with a PhD in Strathmore, then you need to have 3 publications, and those ones have gone through peer review. Now, how do we do it in terms of checking? As I was saying, is that before you give your intention to submit the final thesis, then you give us the publications. Yeah. And then you are advised always, like right now we have for the Faculty of IT, I've just released the list of the databases that if you want the publication to be used for academic purpose, then it has to fit in that. So then we go through that kind of thing before we give to the School of Graduate Studies to basically, and then it's the same when I'm moving. Like for instance, right now I'm a senior lecturer, so in a year or so, I should be eligible to go to associate professor. Okay. So when I am going to ask for the promotion to associate professor, and then they will ask me for the publication, and I already know the school. Of course, here now I am the authority at the same time. So, like for instance, if someone wanted to get promoted from the lecturer to senior lecturer, then basically as the head of the department, I will subject those publications to that criteria that we have already set in the school, okay. Which basically then it's binding to the university. So the business has their own kind of criteria and so on. So all these things have to be approved by the academic council. Yeah.
You are tuning into Diaspora Connect on AAU TV. AAU TV is the voice of higher education in Africa. We're going for a short break, and when we come back, we're going to look at how students who are from deprived communities can also access Strathmore University's educational programs. Welcome back to Diaspora Connect on AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. I am interviewing Dr. Orero, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Information Technology at Strathmore University, and we are talking about ICT penetration of this university. Just before the break, we had looked at the role that ICT has played in helping teachers and researchers, and now we are going to focus on the students. So, Doc, now let's take a scenario where you have to admit students, and many students may not have computer literacy. How do you get these students on board?
Yeah. Now let me clarify that for Strathmore, normally we are one of the universities that basically we thrive not so much about the certificate, but we want to produce, like, we want to make a change in terms of the kind of people, the impact. We want to create an impact both in Kenya to start with, but also in our neighboring countries. So to create an impact, then we normally go target to have specific percentages especially from the marginalized students. Okay. So people who are right at the village level, who really didn't have any kind of access to computing, because majority of the people in the village, in the rural areas, actually do not have these gadgets. They have not been introduced to maybe a laptop and so on. So all our students, so those kind of students, we give them scholarships. Okay. So 15% to 20% of our revenue, actually we give it back in terms of scholarships. So every year we give 15% of our students scholarships to come to Strathmore. Normally the bright students from marginalized areas.
Okay.
So even these students who come now, we have put intentionally, we went into the aspect like any student who comes to Strathmore is given a laptop.
Oh,
okay.
Really?
So even those ones who are on scholarship will get a laptop. So with this laptop, and then if they are doing an IT related course, then we have really a very state-of-the-art labs which they use during their practical session. But other than the practical session, they have a laptop 24 hours, 7 days in a week to actually work and update themselves. So since they are bright students, normally they get into up to speed with the rest of the people who have exposure. So at the end, after the first semester, actually everyone is at par in terms of technology. And because of, you see, Strathmore accommodates, takes from the top of the cream of the society and the bottom and the middle, all colored. So you'll get students who are sons and daughters of cabinet secretaries, presidents, and so on. And then you will have peasant farmers, the poor of the poor, and orphans, and so on. So this integration basically helps very much, because the ones from the well-off kind of background get to learn how life is from the other ones. And then the other ones also, the ones from the poor, financially not well-off background, get to learn how life is in terms of etiquettes and all those kind of aspects. So, and one of the things that really they get to learn very fast is technology and the move.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Is this one laptop a student policy not leading to an overflood of applications?
That is one of the things that you see. We did that intentionally because of the fact that we wanted to. Because if you keep on building the labs, like for instance, if you have, like other universities have a general lab where these other students can come and so on. But then we realized that that is not going to help us move very fast into bridging the. So with that, each person having a laptop and Wi-Fi all over the campus, any place that you step on is a very fast speed Wi-Fi and connectivity and so on. So this will help them, like for IT students, then they can be the same level as people in Stanford, because then they are able to download, get all this, and get to learn. And for the other students from law, commerce, and so on, they are able to actually get the material of what is being done outside there. They can read the journals and all those kind of aspects. So that this basically is to help us to equalize, because the only thing that actually differentiates Africa from the rest of the world is information. So if we can be able to avail information, then
so by that you mean that you also have e-libraries where students can access.
Yeah, actually our library is, that's something else I didn't mention, but our library is highly electronics.
Okay.
Because you can go there. So many of our books, like the IT books, majority of them are electronic e-books. So you can download, of course, the genuine version. So you can download, like for instance, if you are within the university, like for instance, if you are doing law, then you can get all those case studies that you need. If you are doing business and so on, you will need you can download all those within the university, read, and then, so you don't need really to go there physically. Of course, even our physical library is also quite good, updated, in terms of you have the physical books, but then also you have the electronic. So we subscribe to several, the leading journals and e-sources. Yeah.
Okay. One argument being put forth is that the University of the Future is going to do away with classrooms. Is Strathmore thinking more of massive open online courses?
This one I can't say, okay, but for Strathmore, his goal, as I said, is not really so much about the certificate.
Okay.
So ours is to transform the current generation for the future. So I don't believe, so from my personal point of view, I don't believe the aspect of doing away completely with, because the classroom will give you the physical interaction between the lecturer and the students. But then we are going to, what technology is doing is changing the way we present the way we interact with the students. But then that formation that we want to impact onto, because you remember the lecturer is there not just for giving information, because information they can get online, but then also serving as a good example, and these other soft skills that you need to see by example and work on. But there are other programs that we have, so we have like something like 20 to 30% of the work that is done or online. So like for instance, there are some courses which, especially the postgraduate courses, which we put like a lot of content online.
Okay.
Then now you can read it from wherever place that you are in, then you come. But we insist, as Strathmore, we insist on, we need to have that human interaction at some point. So even those programs that we are running, like partly, I can't say like online courses, but it is like some of the material we give online, so that then you can read at the comfort of your home and so on. Virtually all the courses are that way, that you have to have some material that the students have to do at home. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you have convinced me that Strathmore University is a highly computerized institution. Do you have any challenges with the ICT penetration? And that wraps up our discussion for today.
Yeah, now the main challenge actually is to be able to, as I said, to provide, to go with the changing technology.
Okay.
Like the main things that we like to focus on is mainly research in terms of, there is a lot of, although all the other organizations, university is supposed to serve the industry.
Yes.
So the major, like for in IT, the major thing that we have as a difficulty is, of course, the issue of security, hacking, and all those kind of aspects. And then the changing world in terms of in artificial intelligence and computational aspects, like, so we need to keep at brace with this. So the main thing that is basically for Africa, I think what I see is the funding opportunities for growth in terms of either in ICT is a little bit limited as opposed to Europe. Like for instance, I studied in Europe, so I did my PhD in Europe. Virtually all the PhD students are on a grant, which in Africa is virtually every student on PhD is not on grant. So if that can be able to be changed, and specifically for this area of computing, then we can be able to move with the technology as it goes. Because the problem we have now is we produce the students, but then they go to the industry, but no updates kind of after that. Yeah.
Okay. So finally, if you are to place a call to Africans in the diaspora to come to Strathmore University, in which areas would you like them to come and help?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I will prefer that they help us is basically financing the basic research.
Okay.
So like for instance, if they can be able to put up a grant that can help us to do basic research, like for instance, if we are working with things to do with IoT, machine learning, and all those kind of aspects, which ordinarily our market in terms of the industry, like the software development companies, will not support that, because it is going beyond where they are now. It's like we are looking at 10 years from where they are. So that will be good. Things like for us to be able to attend conferences, to have exchanges, like our staff from Africa to go to the West, okay, to spend maybe 1 year or 2 years on sabbatical, and then also the Kenyans or the Africans in diaspora also to be able to be sponsored to come and do a sabbatical here, conferences to be able to be joined between the diaspora and here. So if they can be able to support that aspect, I think basically the research output, that's what I will say, that if we can be able to have, like for instance, I was telling you that I have one of our external examiner is actually from Ghana. So we have had a little bit of collaboration, because he flies in twice in a year to come and do the external. But I wish we were talking like it's much harder to go to Ghana, for instance, than for me to go to Europe. For me to go to France, it's so easy. I will get opportunities, I will get an exchange program and so on. But then now to go to Ghana, for instance, if I wanted to do an exchange with Ghana, it will take quite, because the resources are not there and so on. So if this is what I would like that the diaspora can help here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Orero. It's been nice talking to you on Diaspora Connect on TV. This is the end of this episode on Diaspora Connect, where we are talking about ICT integration at Strathmore University in Nairobi, Kenya. Stay tuned in for other programs on AUTV. Take care. Bye.